Alright everybody, this is going to be an update video about 2 weeks after those really bad storms we had out in the Midwest. The orchard's done pretty well for it. I wanted to kind of do a walkabout showing off everything again and going over how storms can actually be really good for the environment. How the lightning zaps nitrogen out of the air and that heavy downpour starts things waking up. A poor example of that is this is my jujube from One Green World. Jujubes are one of the last things to break dormancy no matter what, so it still looks pretty gone, but I suspect it'll be fine. Around it, it's got a shallot that's doing great. I could harvest that for green onion anytime I want. There's a couple patches in the orchard that I've raked away and sprinkled native wildflower seeds, so those may or may not come up. Here's a new addition. Been through a couple light freezes, but doesn't seem to mind. This is a, I believe, cornelian cherry, or a Cornus dogwood. So they're from Europe, and they haven't come up yet, but in a circle all around it, it has potatoes. You may have remembered that from another video. Walking over here, the sage looks pretty awful, but if I zoom in nice and close, you can see there's new growth coming out. So this sage survived my zone 5 or zone 6 winter just fine. And Szechuan pepper tree. Last time I just referred to them as Szechuan peppers, and it led to a little confusion. Szechuan pepper trees are actually ash trees, or a type of prickly ash tree. Here, still dormant, is one of my Kusa dogwoods. And over here, I mentioned that they got nibbled down last winter, but coming back like nothing bad ever happened. One of my goji berries, that one's a sweet scarlet. Looking for a place that will sell me Tillamook, but they've been quite hard to source. Another much better looking sage, and my Szechuan pepper. It's a male, so it will pollinate my female trees. And some garlic coming up next to that. As I pan the camera over here, my other Kusa dogwood, which is an Asian variety of dogwood, also fruiting. Over here, another goji berry, not goji, yeah, gumi berry. Last one's also a gumi berry. They are nitrogen fixers, produce tart but very healthy berries that are actually in the olive family. Here I have a sage that isn't looking too good. It already wasn't looking too good, and it seems that some kind of critter has made a nest underneath it. Those sort of things happen. Here's my other Szechuan pepper tree. It is much bigger and much healthier, almost as big as I am. I have another cornelian cherry dogwood, and it became very small, so I've got it down there to try to protect it. Looks like it did not take the frost as well as the other did, but hopefully it will bounce back. And right here is a skirret plant. Had a video on the skirret last week. That's one of the babies I took off the parent plant. Here I have a Szechuan pepper that I planted very late last year. It seems to me they really don't like to be planted late. You should plant them in spring. They did not handle it well. So next row, here we have one of my aronia berries, and as I've mentioned before, it seems like the critters just love to eat the aronia berry. It's nibbled down heavily all over the place, but it's leafing out like there's no problems in the world to it. I've got some tulips around it, and a patch of bee balm. Bee balm is a native relative of mint. People hear mint and they freak out because it's spreading. Bee balm is also spreading, but it's not nearly so aggressive, and it's native, so it's not a big worry of mine. Here we have another aronia berry, and there's even a few little spots covered in buds. I don't know how many of these buds are likely to become flowers, but those buds will probably become at least a couple berries this year that either me or the birds will enjoy. Still have not seen my baptisia come back yet, but I'm expecting there's going to be a baptisia on these aronia berries as a nitrogen-fixing companion plant that I can chop and drop when it's more established. Another tulip, another aronia. You may see both in the grass and where I've managed to get the wood chips, there are dandelions everywhere. I personally welcome the dandelions. They feed the bees, and they are a deep taproot nutrient accumulator. So they're mining good nutrients from way down below. That is a false indigo tree right here. And on that very, very tip, I doubt I can get it to focus, but that's a little ladybug. So they're starting to wake up and starting to look for food. It's another aronia. This one's got smaller buds, but it does have buds. These aronias are all the Viking variety. There's a daylily in the back and a tulip nearby the daylily. Looks like I've raked the soil away here, so I may have sprinkled something in there. Let's head this way. Next row, we're getting back into the jujubes. This is actually in line with the first jujube I showed, but it's further north. It's not really got a lot of companion planting going on. It had a hummingbird mint that I'm more and more each day doubting is going to come back. Dandelion has welcomed itself here. A patch of red clover I'll be happy to leave. Down there, there's a bronze fennel I planted, and I don't know if it's going to make it or not. Garlic, garlic. And there's a tiny, tiny comfrey plant that I probably planted just a piece of root that fractured off when I was moving something around. Jujube, of course, is still completely dormant. Right here, I believe, is a echinacea I planted. I think a pale purple echinacea. To me, they look kind of like a little jellyfish. Next up, we've got the green gauge plum, and as a companion plant, it has this yellow goji berry, actual goji berry this time, not misspeaking. There's a catmint right there, and it's coming back quite happily. It's gonna be covered in blue blossoms all over it. Here we have the first green gauge I planted. It got eaten down pretty hard that first year, but I believe these all came back from above the graft union, so hopefully that's going to be no big deal. And if it is, then that's just a root stock that I can cut down and graft on. And there's another tulip behind it. I think those were called flame tulips or something. They were slightly more expensive than some of the alternatives. Right here we have another one of my plums. This one I think this big side is all rootstock, and I think this is the actual graft, so I may have to cut it or regraft it. But that's my Mount Royal plum. And starting out of the base of here are some leaves. This was an echinacea I planted last year. There's another one on this side I don't see leaves out of yet, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Oh, yep, there is a leaf down in the bottom of it, right there. So the echinaceas here have come back. Looks like there's a garlic I stuck in the base. Moving on to the next plum. This one I planted late in the year, around fall. It's starting to leaf out. But I realized this spring it has absolutely no companion planting, no friends. So I put a ring of potatoes all around it. So it should have potatoes popping up soon. This was a raspberry that just kind of didn't really do much. It leafed out and then immediately died. I'm hoping it'll come back from the roots. We'll have to wait and see. Get over here, I've got my medlar tree. It is starting to leaf out and show signs of life. Can't really get it to focus for some reason. Maybe. Well, either way, It's got little buds up and down it and a big bud on the front. It's got a garlic down at the base. I put some comfrey in right over there. I put a tayberry there. And I put some strawberries around it, but I'm not sure if any of them survived frost. It's kind of exposed out here. Here we have my other green gage. Bought it as a much bigger plant. Looks quite big and happy. I should probably do some pruning work. Got some branches that are going to cross each other. Some garlic around the base of it. Tulips around the base of it. And it's taken quite a beating. I don't know if it's going to make it, but I have a Ponca blackberry right there, sort of as a companion plant to it. As I walk over this way, this one is the one that I mentioned I was worried got chewed so severely that it couldn't survive. This is my banana apple, but even on the more damaged branches, there's already green leafy growth. It's got two dwarf aronias with it. They've been chewed down very badly, but they're both starting to leaf out again. There's a garlic right there. There's a mound where there was asparagus. And as we walk over this way, this is my disease-resistant Macintosh. It and the last apple were both from St. Lawrence Nursery. This one has a very weird crook in the branch. It's alive and it's doing well, but I am really considering whether I should keep that really crooked stem or if I should take the tip and maybe graft it back onto these shoots that are coming off the rootstock. I'll have to decide that soon enough. I don't remember the name of this variety, but this is a raspberry that we got at Brambleberry Permaculture. And it seems to both have come back on the stems and be coming back from the roots. It looks quite nice in my opinion. Heading over to the next plant in this row, we have one of my cherries. This is the one that stayed very short, did not develop, didn't look like it was doing anything right. It never died, it just didn't budge. But now it's the first one to leaf out. And it even had a flower that got frozen. So that cherry's definitely alive, and I have high hopes that it catches up this year. I don't know if I just didn't break up the root ball enough on it or what. It's got some strawberries running around the base of it. Not as bad as some of the others have ran, but still free strawberries. Planted a little blueberry next to it this year, so hopefully that helps out. And as we head out from here, I've got one that I probably didn't even mention my last time. Another spot I raked and put something in, but there's where I planted my asparagus in that recent video. It'll be a while before it comes up, but I planted it right around this little twig, which I'm really hopeful survives. This is my Tuna sinensis, or a beef and onion plant. And the stems in spring smell exactly like beef bouillon to me. It's got a little comfrey plant there, and it's got a garlic over there, so it's got a couple companion plants. Next up we have my cherry that's done the best. It was a bare root gold cherry from One Green World, and it started out at that little cut spot at the center, and all these other shoots have come off the sides, and that one in the middle is probably about 10 feet tall. Right off to the side of it is my pink champagne currant, which has tripled in size, and it's waking up. It's got a nice comfrey crown that I transplanted over, and they look pretty raggedy, but these are some of the pink flowered strawberries that I saw for sale at Lowe's last year, and they actually survived our winter, surprisingly enough. So I'm excited to see how and what happens with those next. Oh, I almost missed it. On this side, I have one of my honeyberries that I was very, very confident wouldn't make it because they all defoliated in summer. But not only did it make it, it's got a flower on it. Again, I can't seem to get anything to focus the way I want. There we go. Yep. Oh, and some walking onions around the center of it. That was a huge dandelion root I dug out while planting, I believe, asparagus as well, right there. Continuing on in this row, there's a decent sized blueberry I got from Costco. It doesn't look very good right now because I did recently transplant it, and it had quite a bit of root boundness I had to break off. There's a bee balm and another honeyberry that I thought for sure was dead. I've not seen any flowers on this one, but it's trying to survive. I'm happy to see it. Over here we have a couple little bitty strawberries I probably planted midsummer off of a runner. One of my more established apples. I can't get any good apples off of them because they're so badly full of codling moth, so I'm hoping more permaculture style growing will help with that. Way down at the bottom here, that's a clone of a sea berry. It got chewed down by a rabbit or a deer, and I just took the top and stuck it in the ground there, and it actually rooted. It's got a josta berry, a big clump of comfrey that's coming back with quite a bit of vigor. So I'm quite impressed by that. And I'll be honest, I didn't see that before. I don't know for sure what that is. I wonder if it's something else that I pulled up or had cut down by a critter and just stuck in the earth. I'll have to investigate that one later. Got a little patch of yarrow on that as well. As I walk over this way, we have not sure what that one was. Might have been just the dead stalk of something I grew last year. But a whole bunch of comfrey again. It got chewed down, but there is currant coming back from the winter. Blueberry that got chewed down. Haven't seen it start leafing out yet, so it may have died, but it may not have died. Just give it some time. Another spot that I've got a bunch of asparagus planted. As I start making my way over here, we have the mulberry I'm quite excited for. There's a patch of yarrow again, but this is my Illinois everbearing mulberry. It started out about 4 feet tall, maybe shorter, and it has just continued going up and up and up, about 12 feet straight in the air. So I figured I'm going to pull both of those arms down and make it into a trellis for that little grape I've got there at the base. So it's going to be a companion for this grape. It's got a gooseberry over there, and a little ways in front of it, there's a baby Shapova pear, which I'm told does well enough in part shade. So as this tree gets too big, it'll still do all right, hopefully. If not, I'll move it somewhere else later on. I've got a few cut leaf coneflowers planted in there, just little babies coming up. And as I walk over this way, the plant is largely hidden. There's potatoes around it as well. But down in there is a Red Love Calypso apple. So I've got that planted quite well. And eventually I plan to mulch this area back in as it needs to be. I have a small chewed down Arkansas black apple right here. It's got as a companion plant those two little sticks, which are a bush cherry, hoping that those make it. The plant that has been chewed down, I think, the most out of everything is coming up. That little twig in the ground is my purple passion crab apple. It's an edible crab apple, but it's best used cooked because of the high tannin content. It's got some honeyberries around it, and it's got this very pretty flame tulip that has come up, and it's a little past the ideal spot to take pictures, but I could still appreciate it being pretty. more asparagus. As I continue the walk out this way, we see a chewed down red raspberry. I believe this raspberry came from One Green World, and I was wrong, it's a Cascade Gold, it's not a red raspberry, but it has little babies popping up all over the place. Little red tulip, and this is at the base of a great big apple tree. That clump of sticks there is all goldenrod. I decided to leave them there, at least for now. They're perennial and they're a great final food source for the bees. It's a clump of lavender I planted. It was about the size of a red solo cup before. I've got big old feet, but it's a pretty decent sized plant now. Continuing on this row, here's my best looking sea kale so far. Nice big bushy plant, and in the center there you can see it's forming a flower. I can pick that early and eat it like broccoli if I want. Here's the sea berry that clone mentioned earlier came off of. It's quite sharp on the tips, but it's leafed out quite well. Good nitrogen fixer. The only problem with them is that they need a male to pollinate. My male got chewed down, so none of them will pollinate this year. So no fruit, just nitrogen. That's all right with me. It's another chewed down tayberry that I planted. We've got lots and lots of strawberries all around this cherry. Strawberries just kind of went crazy out here. They've got runners all over. Got a gooseberry right here. And in the center, it's a nice cherry tree. It's almost doubled since I planted it, so not a bad looking tree at all. As I continue to walk towards the last plant in this row, there's another sage, another tulip, another onion, and a colossal chestnut. Hopefully it can be pollinated by the Dustan chestnuts that I've got planted a little bit north of it. I know they're wind pollinated, but I'm just kind of hopeful because everything I bought to go with it has died. Under this big old pile of mulch is my, fig, my Chicago cold hardy fig. So as soon as our last frost date's a little closer, I plan to unbury that. Here I have a dwarf Shipova. Doesn't really have much of any companions. And I planted some blueberries with it, but they got chewed down immediately. They're just too small for me to put a tree collar on. There's another currant, another comfrey at the base of a bigger, older dwarf apple tree that has been blown down. We'll have to pin it up right. Little clump of thyme right there. Inside this pot in the ground, if I get really, really low down and close, you can see the mint is coming back. It was a berry mint. It's supposed to have a berry-like scent. Mint can be controlled by sinking pots in the ground, as long as it is an upright mint variety. If it climbs on the floor, it becomes a problem because it'll still send down roots. As you'll see in a bit, I made a mistake. Here's my, trying to think of the word, my cold hardy citrus. It looks like it took a hell of a beating this winter. I don't know if any of it's alive. Yeah, a lot of the tips are just crumbling. But maybe down at the base, maybe the root will come back, maybe it'll adapt. We'll see. But it's just surrounded by walking onions that have done better than expected, so I can live with that. And right there is a silver lemon thyme. It's got a rock next to it. Thyme really likes to have rocks or things like that next to it. Something to hold in the temps and hold in the water. There's a huge circle of purple bee balm here. Beautiful stuff. It's expanded about 3 times from the size it was supposed to be last year, which is what I want. And more comfrey at the base. This is another apple tree that's looking looking quite healthy. It's just the fact that the apples themselves get infected that worry me. Right over there is a stick that was a rosemary plant. I think the cold killed it. I'm going to try a hardier variety next. As I walk over this way, very new planting from Gurney's. This is a graft on a graft of Oriental pear, so a Korean pear most likely. Yep, pear 2-in-1 Asian. It's got a graft right there, and I think another graft somewhere else up here. But it's got buds that are grafted onto it, and it's grafted at the base to a hardier rootstock. So it's a graft on a graft, but it looks like it's doing quite well. Continuing on this line, we have one of my contender peaches. The blooms have been hit by frost a couple times, so I don't know if I'm getting any fruit this year, but I'm not terribly upset either way. I'm just happy that it's alive and well. There's green starting to come out here and there, so even if it's not going to produce me anything this year, that's fine. I'm happy to just let it grow. It's got a strawberry down at the base that I'm excited for. Hopefully the strawberries I planted here are going to run. There were 3 of them last weekend, but the freezes seem to have taken them out. Right over here, I have a chestnut crabapple. I believe I bought it from St. Lawrence Nursery. It had a lateral root almost as long as the tree was, so I actually had to dig up a straight line off into the lawn to about here just to make sure that root was stretched out where it needs to be. It's one of the things about planting bare roots is it can be really valuable to take your time to study each and every tree and give it what it needs, give it what it wants, spread the roots out in a good and healthy way. Right over here is a golden russet. Skill Tree recommends them very highly. He says they are the best eating apple, and they're supposed to be a good storage variety too. Right over here we have our other bush cherry, an Arkansas black apple, bouncing back from being nibbled down. As I walk over this way, you may recognize that thyme I planted recently in a YouTube short, and my peace garden apple right here, one of my favorites. I haven't tried them yet, but I just love how it's been growing. Nice comfrey as a companion plant to it, and asparagus is going to come up over there. Taking a few steps further, frost hit this sea kale pretty hard, but I suspect it'll bounce back. There's a walking onion. This is one of my other female sea berries. This is incredible to me, but those all over it are itty bitty native ladybugs, red ladybugs. I don't see them all too often anymore, but there's actually a bunch on it. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign because they are predators. That would kind of imply to me that there's a whole bunch of pests, but they seem to have it covered. Walk over here. I believe that's another skirret that I cloned over this way. The bee balm surrounding this large apple. Comfrey. One of my big, happy, healthy rhubarbs. Trying to go to flower again this year. You can eat rhubarb flowers in a number of ways. Another new strawberry for this year. Here's my male sea berry. As you can see, there's not much left of it, but it sent out a new shoot from the roots. We'll see how it bounces back. There's another sea kale, some walking onions. As I keep walking this way, there's some more spots that I've raked down to plant wildflower seeds or to transplant in bulbs. Here's my Autumn Brilliance service berry. Very excited for it. There's comfrey as part of it. There's a skirret plant that I transplanted last fall. There's 2 walking onions. There's an itty bitty plant there that's going to be an echinacea. And each one of these branches is just covered in what will be clusters of flowers. They're still buds right now, but this plant is about 5.5 feet tall, and it's doing quite well. There's a patch of tulips right here. And just a little further north of this exact section, I have 2 dustan chestnuts, but there's not much going on with them to make them all too worth showing off. They're just kind of sticks in the ground I got last year from Rural King. They haven't got any companion planting or anything yet. Here's another one of the bigger, more established apples. There are some carrots that I left over winter to go to seed. I don't think they can take our cold here, but that's okay. That just means I can't grow that variety. There's others that will be able to take the cold. So not doing as well, but there's a comfrey in there. Here we have the water battery where I dug out that skirret a few videos back. And in this general area I have my, I believe, a vernal witch hazel. It's a short variety. And it doesn't say, but I got it from Brambleberry Permaculture. And there's some grass that I weeded earlier, and it's got a cutleaf coneflower nearby it. So cutleaf coneflowers I've spread as much as I can in as many places as I can. To go back over here to where the rhubarb was, there's honeyberries that I forgot about that are in bloom, and lots of strawberries that have spread from a runner. I, again, just transplanted it midsummer, planted it, and it's got runners of its own by the end of winter. Another tree, another apple tree, not a whole lot going on. Sunchoke fell over onto it over winter. It's just the old dead stem. It won't come back from the stem. But it's got comfrey in the back. But this is where I was mentioning I learned the hard way. You can keep mint that's upright in pots and it will keep them contained. This was a chocolate mint and it did better than any other in our area even. But even though there's a ton of them all trapped in this pot, there's others that are not in the pot that have escaped. So I will have to make a decision very soon to rip all of them up or accept that I'm always going to be dealing with them. But I like them and they grow well here. Here we have something that I don't think will be as reliable. I've heard mixed reviews whether they're incredibly disease resistant or have no disease resistance. But here I have a Flavor King Pluot and a Sweet Treat Plueri. The Plueri has even bloomed on its first year. And I've got another cutleaf coneflower stuck in the middle. It doesn't look very happy there, but it may bounce back. Here's my patch of cactus. If anyone wants to buy them, let me know. I'd be happy to take some of these pads that break off every winter and ship the pad. The pad itself is ready to plant. You just stick the bottom end in the ground somewhere and water it in, and it should come to life just fine. Here we have my other peach tree. Strawberries around it, for whatever reason, did much better. So overall, the storm didn't do a lot of damage to anything out here other than the drop in temperatures. But it did cause tons more things to wake up because of that nice nutrient-rich rainwater that we got. Here we have my little pond. I'm going to put the pump and everything back into it soon. I just can't risk it freezing and breaking. But down at the bottom of the pond, there's I'm trying to think of the word, a water lily in a pot that I bought, and it's still alive. It'll come back this year. So the pond's doing well. Here's my double jewel peach from One Green World. It's a lot smaller, but it still has 2 buds that haven't opened and 1 that has. It's all doing quite well. So thank you for watching this video. Hope everyone had a good one, and I'll be happy to see you all again very soon. Thank you.